Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Osheni. Then Dr. Osheni will moderate and just bring up Prof.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Can you please say good morning to the person beside you and say welcome to church? Yes, this is a syndicate session, but then it's still church, so we are still in the church. Hallelujah. There's a portion of the scripture that I love so much, and it is Romans chapter 8, verse 28. It says, all things work together for good for those that love God and are called according to his purpose. So this morning, PD started by apologizing that the other hall is being used because of wedding, and so we are unable to make use of the hall, and there is a bit of inconvenience. So I would like to say that, again, we apologize. But then if we go by this scripture, it says all things work together for good. So it then means that even the fact that they are making use of that hall, at the end of the day, is for the good of somebody. Hallelujah. Say it's for my good. It is for my good. Hallelujah. So what are we going to be doing here today? Okay, so many people are here in the UK as students. For some, they call it JAPA, mechanism. But whether it's JAPA or whatever it is, the primary reason why you are here first is as a student. Okay, so the end game could be because you want to settle, you want to own a business, you want to build a career or whatever it is. But at the moment, the starting point is the studies you want to study. And we've come to realize that a lot of people, when they come in, seems to neglect that primary reason why they are here. Some don't do it intentionally. They just get carried away with things. And for some, they just seem to not to know how to navigate. So the academic terrain or study terrain here is pretty much different from where we are coming from in Nigeria or in Africa. So why are we here? The reason why we are here is to have a better understanding of how to navigate. The truth of the matter is it's not as difficult as you think it is, but information is what? Is actually is power. Hallelujah. So if you don't know, you really don't know. So the reason why we are here is such that we want to know. We want to have those key information, the snippets, that is going to help you to navigate correctly. And I tell you, if you are able to excel as a student here, I think you are going to excel in every other thing. You will excel as an entrepreneur. You're going to excel as a whatever career you want to go into, because within the university environment, you have all these things embedded in it. I'm going to leave the rest to our speaker to go on. Hallelujah. So I would like to again introduce our speaker. PD has done a good job, but then permit me to introduce Dr. Olwasoye Mafimisebi. Again, he is the faculty head of research students at the Business and Law Faculty, DMU, and he's also an associate professor and reader of strategic management and risk resilience. Now, when I look at his profile, I found it interesting because he's had quite a number of degrees. So you know that he's someone that you will really be able to tap from. So he started with OND, OND in insurance and risk management, and then moved on to have HND again in risk management, this time with distinction. Even the first one was with distinction. And then he had BA in global and business management, and then moved on to have progressed to MSc with distinction again in risk management, and then PhD in strategy, enterprise, and innovation. So someone with about how many degrees? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees. Sure, we know how to navigate within that terrain. Another interesting thing I found about him is that he's not just being in the academic alone. So he started his career even in the industry. I think he spent about more than 13 years in the industry, somehow in the banking, financial sector in Nigeria before moving into UK. So, and for a number of us that are here, perhaps you worked in Nigeria and then you are here. So there are a lot of things that I think you could learn from him. Is resourceful and innovative. And the other time PD was saying he's a YouTube professor. Hallelujah. And this is what happened during pandemic, where he took interesting initiative to start a group and then started teaching people on YouTube. And that really was good. If you are here last year or so, you will have seen that Dr. Olwasoye Mafimisebi was the face of DMU at some point, you know, so you see him in all the videos and all that. Without so much ado, I've also had the privilege of working with him. We've published a number of papers together, about 2 or so. So it's good working with him. And without much ado, I think I have the honor and privilege to welcome Dr. Olwasoye Mafimisebi. Please a round of applause.
Thank you.
Lead entrepreneur, a solid business person.
I'm just going to
a
smile and just leave
solid
it at that.
strategist that have transformed business.
Good morning.
Not just business, have transformed.
I've got a slide prepared.
Project
But
all around.
I think
One time it
technology
was
happened,
within
so
the
you just
World Bank,
going to bear with me.
and
I
it was
don't know.
given it was a consultant on
How
field
many minutes?
projects. Of course, he has worked in Nigeria, worked with the federal government, and over here in the United Kingdom, he's doing fantastic well. So I welcome Pastor Wale, and then yeah, we can clap if you want to clap. Yeah, let's clap. Let's feel free, as I've said. Don't forget what I said. I love money, but I love God too.
Yeah,
We're
morning.
going to use the money to do
I'm just going to,
the kingdom
what
of
I
God. Don't
tend
forget
to
our
do
father
was
Abraham.
when
You know how many cows and all the shit
Pastor
they
Danny
have?
asked me
Yeah, we
to
must be
come
like him.
and do
I don't
this,
know
I was
about
like,
it. I must have
I'm not really,
feelings,
but
man.
I was like, I can't really
So
say no to
we're all
you.
welcome. I celebrate you. Please,
I
let's
was
clap
thinking
for
about
ourselves
what
while I
I needed
welcome.
to share with you today, and I spent some time looking at, reflect on, I think what this actually done for me was really to reflect on my own journey as well. And also what I currently do now. I'm more like the cheerleaders for our research student, our doctoral student in the Faculty of Business and Law. So that's what I do. So, and then looking at this is obviously give me opportunity to reflect and think about, you know, my own journey, and then of course what I'm still doing at the moment, and I know, like in the UK for example, we know that a couple of maybe close to 23,000 professors, full professors in the UK, and there are just less than 200 black professors in the UK. So I think we still have quite a lot of way road to go when it comes to that. But my talk today, I think the topic that I was given to look at was looking at excelling in academics. And then, of course, looking at the secrets, the insight and foresight. And when I was looking at this, I said, one way I can do this. If you go to the next slide. So, obviously, I've been introduced, so I'm not going to say my name again. Olwasoye is my name. But I've tried to divide this section into 3, and I will invite you to place if you want. I know we've got like Q&A sections, but I just have to put on my teaching hat. So if you want to stop me, you can stop me. What I've done is to divide it into 3 sections. So I've looked at the what section. So if you press the button,
when I checked, it's running to billions. Can you see? I was just looking at it yesterday. Let me just quickly show us.
If you press the PowerPoint, so I've got 3 sections there. So there is the what aspect in terms of excelling, and I've also looked at the so what and the now what aspect of the sections today. What I want to do quickly is really to look at, just maybe give you a bit of stories in terms of the UK. Obviously, how many of you, maybe just by way of, don't feel embarrassed. Have you studied in the UK before? No? Okay. So, like it's been already been alluded to, so many of us, maybe the education system here is quite a little bit different from Nigeria. The reason being that the system here is set up for you to succeed. the system is truly, truly set up for you to do well. Anybody can do well. I can tell you that for free. Anybody, just anybody can do well. So the system is set up for you to do well. And sometimes we wonder why is it that some students do maybe excel, and definition of what it means to excel academically. I'll come to that. Why is it that some people excel, others don't?
You are probably running a business in Nigeria.
There are quite a number of things that underpins that, and that is something that I want to really capture today in terms of why is it that some people excel, why others don't. And then, of course, has already been alluded to as well, if you do academically here, irrespective of your, maybe the reasons why you've come to the UK to study. I remember, I think when I first came here, that was in 2012. So I had done a bit of work in Nigeria. I was working with Standard Chartered Bank. I was running my own fishing business. So I grew up in riverine communities in those days. So fishing. And then of course, whilst working in the bank, I was still a fisherman, believe it or not. So I still have my own fishing business and all that. So I came here, do some part-time teachings as well in Nigeria. But I came here, wanted to come here to study, did a master's at the University of Portsmouth in risk management. My intention was really to do the master's and do a PhD and go back to Nigeria, right? So, and at the time, because obviously, for obvious reasons, by the grace of God, at that time, it's not like I wasn't doing badly, and I'm not doing badly now. So, but that was the original intentions, right? So I came at the time, and I remember coming to the UK that was September the 28th. By the time I've arrived, the first module for my MSc Risk Management has been completed, so I just met with the assignment. And I did the first assignment, and I scored 68, and I was furious because I'm used to, getting A's in school. So I was like, oh, I'm going to find out, the Nigerian thing in me was like, no, I'm going to have a word with this person and to find out why, and it turns out that 68 was like the highest for that particular module at the time. I was still curious to know what else I can do to get 70, because I know 70 is distinction and I want to graduate with distinction. So, and I know I needed to do well. And then and that was actually an interesting conversation. That was the genesis. And by the time, obviously, I do the second and the third and the rest of the module, the rest they say is history. I did graduate with distinction. I did graduate. I was the best postgrad student at the business school at the time, and I started my PhD at that time. And in the course of doing my PhDs as well, what I've also did was to, okay, I want to go back to Nigeria. I was getting close to finishing my PhD. I'd had HND in Nigeria, had another HND, so finished with distinctions, working with bank. I was chartered, have a couple of chartered qualifications here and there. But I know, obviously, because I wasn't naive, that in Nigeria, some of you maybe knows that at the time there was a bit of discrimination between HND, BSc kind of thing. So what I did was finishing my PhD, believe it or not, I went to Bournemouth University to register for an undergraduate program. That was in the final year of my PhD. I completed within a year because of my previous qualifications, so I get exemption to do the final year of the program. So I was completing the undergraduate program. At the same time, I was completing my PhD program. So, and then my wife was studying as well at the time, because obviously it wouldn't make any sense for me to study and obviously have all the UK degrees, and she doesn't. So we're having almost doing about 3 parallel degrees concurrently at the same time in the house, and then obviously had to do with other things as well. But it was a journey that I don't know how I pulled through, but looking back, I know that it can only be God. But I say that to just to maybe allay some of the maybe concerns that you may have. And one of the things that I've learned in that journey was really to look at what does success, excel in academic, what does it actually mean? Looking at, I don't want to go into the realm of research. Now, I've looked at epistemology of academic success, looking at how do we, say we are successful as an academics or in your studies. How do you know, getting into that state of knowing what to do, how to go about it, the things to do, what are the secret behind it, and one of the things that I learned quite early in the course of even come to the UK, I read it much more early. I know that if I ask a lot of questions, I will get so many answers that will help me solve the things that I'm looking to solve. So that was one of the very early things that I learned when I first came here. And I discovered that when in the process, I started to look at, and this was the time I started to look at, is it that, if you like, sometimes people refer to the elephant in the room, right? So many of us obviously come to the UK for different reasons, and the questions I usually ask, is it the failure of the elephant or the capability of the fleas? So fleas is very, very small, tiny flies that can patch on anything. And one of the things that I looked at was that sometimes, if you go to the next slide, if you can, that sometimes it's not necessarily about that. It's not necessarily about that. I think I realized that part of this was really to reflect on how we spend our time. How you spend your time in Nigeria should be different from how you spend your time in the UK, for obvious reasons. I think that is the. If you go to the next one, that will be one of the things that I'll be addressing on. So I think we need to reflect on how we spend our time here. I think it's really important because sometimes one thing I've come to realize is that if you go to the next one, one thing I've come to realize is actually that it's not always easy for anyone, to handle things that you cannot control, right? You can't, for obvious reasons, things that you don't have control over, there's nothing you can do about them. But the things that you have control over, your time, is really important because you have control over that. So you can't change the situations, but you can actually react to how you respond to that situation. So that is the core things that I want to address today. So I want to go very quickly to what is it? What is the secret of excelling, in the UK? That's the really. If there's anything, maybe I want to cover. What is the secret? Because if you do well, if you're a master's student, if you're doing your research, you're a doctoral student, if you do well, it opens so many doors. That's just the honest truth. In fact, I argue that it's not like God is not powerful, that he cannot do anything, can do all things, but it makes the job so much easier for God. I think that's the way I try to look at it. Because if you do well, you shut the door for so many loopholes where people relies on different excuses, not to select you maybe for an interview or not to shortlist you for an interview, because you are in a position where you have something to bring to the table. So you're bringing something to the party. That's the way I look at it. So if you go to the next one, looking at the secret sections. So this is the word aspect. So this is the word aspect. And there are a couple of things that I was reflecting on when I was looking at this. And one of them is for you to take advantage of the resources that is available within the universities. There are a lot of resources that are there. I think if you ask so many questions, if you ask so much questions like I usually love to do, take advantage of these resources. They are there. Just use them. Besides, I usually said to some of my teachers as well, I said, you're the one paying. I have paid my own, so you're the one paying the fees. So you're the one wearing it. She said, so make the best use of it. So the resources are there to support you, to make sure that you do well. And that's one, it seems very obvious. And how can you use these resources? How can you make use of these resources that are there? So you need to engage with the process. You need to engage. And I say, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Something is not clear, ask. This is not like, obviously, maybe in Nigeria, I've seen situations where, by virtues of what I do now with my current roles, I've seen situations where, and this is not a position that I want to be in. Nobody wants to be in that. Obviously, we work at DMU together. So nobody wants to be at the positions where you're making a decision to terminate somebody's PhD program after 3 years. And you're seeing grown-up cry. You don't want to be in that position. So I don't want to be there. I've been part of teams where we have to make that difficult call. And then you're looking at families is tied to this, time, resources, finance, name it. And even much more recently as well, with this post-study thing as well, I think one of the things that is not also happening is that some master's student in this case, for you to qualify for the post-study work visas and all that, you needed to have completed your program within the time frame. And then we had situations where Nigerian students, I think at DMU, had failed the dissertations. I think it was 48, and the pass mark was 50. And this is way to, the board has ratified the result, and they're crying for help. And obviously, this is not a situation that anybody wants to be in, because it has implications for their visas. It means that even to do the receipts, they had to go back to Nigeria to apply for their visas. And it's not even guarantees. Anyway, they have to do it back from home. And obviously, that means that this person is not qualified to apply for the visa. So, and I was like, you don't have to wait for this, for it to get to this stage. Oh, the excuse was, my supervisors was not responsive and all that. I was like, but if you come to, especially in our own area, in fact, our department is more like people, they used to make chat before to say, our department is more like African, department, because pretty much more like half of our academic teams are Black Africans, or pretty much the vast majority from different African countries, including Nigerians being the highest. So you can just walk into anybody's office and just ask for help. You're struggling with dissertations. You don't have to wait until you fail. And that's the point I want to make. You don't need to wait until things get bad before you do something about them. I think that's really important. I think in the process as well, I think one thing that I wanted to say is that there is need for us to discover who we need to be, who we need to become in the process. I told you my story in terms of, I wanted to go back to Nigeria, finish my master's, did a PhD, wanted to go back to Nigeria. I didn't finish that part of the story that I'm still here in the UK. I was wondering why you didn't ask me why am I still here and all that. So I think we need to discover who we need to be. So that's something that I think is really important. I think that in most times, and I say this quite often, that it is really important that we sometimes cut ties with the old versions of ourselves. Because I used to be, and this is one thing that has worked for me, I believe that if what I did yesterday still looks pretty good, from OND, I was best student, graduate with distinction, HND, best graduating polytechnic student all the time, and come to the UK. I used to think that if what I did yesterday was so big to me, I haven't done enough today. That is my thinking. So I think in doing that, I think it's really important to cut ties with the old version of yourself. Put aside I remember, and this is just to maybe to encourage some of us as well. That I work with Standard Chartered. I remember my office because I was in web management. You work in the banks as well. I was in web management, and I have a very big office and have like drivers. You go places and things like that. And you come to the UK, and here you are. You want to study. You're self-funded, and you need to do certain jobs that obviously you may not do in Nigeria, right? So, and you're thinking, is it worth it? But at the same time, you know where you're going, and this is just for a moment, right? So it's not the end in itself, because that is not your end. You're going somewhere. So I think it's really important for us to be curious, and the way I put it was to become an investigator. Learn everything you can. Make the best. Learn everything you can, within your areas. And try to climb on the shoulder of giants. There are people that have gone ahead of you. And this is one of the things that I usually do, even in my day-to-day job. Now, I just allude to the fact that there are close to over 23,000 plus professors in the UK, and there are less than 200 black professors in the UK. But the way to do it is not necessarily to reinvent the ways, because if you learn from the people that have been ahead of you, I think the journey will be much more shorter, and you will discover pretty much the best way or the best way to achieve whatever things that you want to achieve. You want to get distinction, it is possible. It's not an impossible thing. I think the way what works for me, and when I was preparing this, I think one of the things that I do was really to reflect. I try to do my own part, which is do a good job, and then engage the module leaders. Here we've got like module leaders. Many of you, some students assist, some students stay away. They don't have. Many lecturers have like office hours that you can go and have a chat with them. Make your intention known. You want to have, you want to get 70s. Yeah, they will even. I taught postgrad, I taught undergrad. Sadly now I don't have teaching, because it's almost more like the more you go in academy, the less academics you become. You become more, you do admin stuff. But if you engage, people are genuinely interested to tell you, or maybe a student tell me, what can I do to achieve 70 plus in this module? Oh, you need to do this, you need to do. If you get the first draft of your assignment, I remember when I was doing my master's, every piece of assignment, believe it or not, I used to have like 10, 11 drafts of that before I hand it in. And I did my PhD, I have like, how many versions of draft? I can't remember, I've lost track. But trust me, I think from my recollection, is more than 20 drafts to get the thesis put together. And I go to the Viva, I had a 20-minute Viva voice conversations with the external examiners. That was the Viva. It doesn't happen quite often, but it happens. And we have an interesting discussion. So most people, most students will do the first one, which is like, do a good job, do a good assignment, and they will leave it at that. That's what most students do. Smart students do 1 and 2, which is do a good job, engage model leaders, and also book office hours to discuss about the work before the work is actually handed in. But I think the student that tends to do all of the above, including, sharing their intentions as well. You know what? I'm trying to get distinction. This is what I'm working, this is what my result looks like at the moment. What can you do? What can I do? Any resources that we will share. We don't
I mean, here, we don't. It's not like we don't. Nobody hoard knowledge. It's meant to be shared. So it's even a crime. So I'm just going to quickly go into the so what. I hope you've been able to get something from that. But to be honest, the system is set up for you to succeed. Use it. The resources are there. If you're in any of the UK universities, including DMU, there are career units that are there. Before you finish your master's, I remember I mentored one Nigerian student who was doing MSc with us at the time. I think it was like maybe 3 months into the MSc program, came to my office, had a chat, shared what he wanted to do. I was like, that is fine. And then we had discussions, and I just gave some, it may just be one word, and I have even forgot. I just like outline things he can do this, do that, do this, do that. And it was, one day I was just working on the road, and it's like, I can't remember you. It's like, DMU, he works as a project manager. He got a job before he finished the master's, and that sponsors his visas as a project manager, and now he's paying good money, right? And he was like, I took your advice, and I was like, oh, thank God. And he invited me for his graduation. I must admit that I can't say no to him. So it was really good, very refreshing to hear. So I think it's really important to engage to this course. I'm going to go into the next one, which is the foresight. I'm mindful of time so that we can have time for questions, and so that I have opportunity to hear your individual stories as well. So looking at the next one, which is around insight, so which is what I call the so what. So you're successful, right? So you are you're doing okay. You've made the distinction. You've had the masters. You have your PhD, and so what? Why should anybody care about that? I think it's a question that I ask myself. You have all this degree, and so what? Why should we give you a job because you have a distinction or a PhD? Nobody give you a job because you have a PhD or a master's or a distinction. It is good. What those things do and your experience, what they do, it gives you the opportunity for you to be heard, which is getting shortlisted or whatever you got to an interview stage. But you've still got to show that you have something to offer, that you're bringing something to the table, that you're not like, you can start the job from day one. I think that's one of the things that I was able to, and one of the things that I found really useful was that sometimes I think mindset is really important as well. I mean, it's not just enough to say, oh, I am a senior lecturer or a lecturer or a professor or an actual professors or faculty head of research. People will forget about you very easily if you're not making impact in an environment where you are, in your own little spreads of influence. I think that's one of the things that I really find useful when I was looking at this. So I think for me, it's about leveraging on the contact, on the relationship, on the network, the people you're sitting with in the room. I remember when I was doing my master's, and I met a Ghanaian guy, Alfred, and it was my supervisor, my PhD supervisor, that introduced Alfred. Alfred has come from Ghana to start a master's, and he was struggling. And I met him, my PhD supervisors, who happens to be the course leader for the MSc program at the time, introduced Alfred. Well, we became friends. I gave him advice, have him to proofread his coursework and all that. We're leveraging that relationship. Because of that, we've gone on to do something in Ghana. He had extensive contacts, which I don't even realize at the time. Extensive network contact with all the ministers and the presidencies and Ghana and all that. We still talk to today. And it was just, just being being who you are, do your normal thing. So leverage on the contact. And that's one of the things that I find really, truly remarkable in the UK, that it gives you a lot of contact. It gives you a lot of contact. So you can leverage on that to capture values and also to be impactful as well. I think for me, one of the things that as a roundup because of time is that personally when I was looking at this, one thing that I really want to also mention is that find a way to manage your stress. It's really important. Don't do too many shifts. I know you want to pay your school fees, but don't die before your time. It's really important that we have this balance of, in the midst of trying to do the shift, in the midst of, because you still have studies, you still have other things, there's families, and there's other things as well. So find a way to manage your stress. Because you can really tell, because the UK, I told you before the pandemic, we've been isolating. Since I came to this country, we've been in isolation. Because people you don't know your next door neighbors, they don't know you, everybody is just on their own, you just wake up in the morning, you go to work, you come back, I was like, I'm not really caught in for this. And when we had the corona, I was like, there's no difference anyway. There's no difference. Let's just be honest, there's no difference. It's just now left for us to be intentional in terms of how we manage our time, how we're able to balance the things that we do. I think it's really important for me. I find that really useful in terms of very important for us to manage that stress. For me, one way I've looked at the UK, I said, the wood is there, the fire is there, the knife is there, but you're not the sacrifice. You're not the sacrifice. You're not. So don't be too anxious. Now, it will happen. Whatever things that has brought you to this country, you can achieve it. It will happen. Have conversations with people. Get a mentor. Get somebody I have people that I adopt as my official mentors, whether they like it or not. I adopt them as my official mentors in bar, and it works for me. I joined GMU shortly before I finished my PhD in 2017. I was finishing my PhD. I published about 12 papers before I finished my PhD. And I joined GMU as a VC 2020 lecturer as well, research contract in 2018. And in 2019, I get promoted to senior lecturer in 2019. And in 2020, I get promoted to associate professors and become a reader in my own subject area. And it didn't happen overnight. This is almost more like you working. When you put that into context, it will be a journey of about 15 years to get to do that in 2 years. If on a natural progression, even when you progress to senior lecturer's case, it's not a natural progression at that time. It just capped there. So it will have been a journey of about 15 years that happened in 2 years. And I know that it wasn't an accident or something. It doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work that goes into that, but there's also the intentionality. So be strategic about the things that you do. I think that's the point I want to make. And finally, if you go to the last, now what, right? If you go there, when you look at this is where I'm going. Now what? So if you have all these, your masters, you will finish it, right? If you're struggling, if you're having issues with finance, because finance could be a big issue as well. Having issues with finance, I know how it's like, to get one of those nasty letters from the finance team at the universities to say, oh, your fees are standing by X, Y amount of money, and therefore your assets has been cut off, and you'll be reported to the UK VI, Home Office, whatever. I know what it's like because I've been there. But don't wait until you get too badly before you speak out, right? I've got a PGL, one of our PGL obviously having issues and all that. It's like, reach out, call for help. And what we did, what I tend to do, what I do, was really to say, okay, let's see, because of my role, let's see what we can do to help. Because you're a PhD student and you're doing, we have had discussion with the supervisors to see whether we can get you a job within the universities, and you can make an arrangement with finance to say X, Y amount that is coming from this can be used to. But don't wait, because help is there. I think that's really important. But in terms of when you're looking at the now what, for me, I think that formal educations will make you a living, but self-study, self-education will make you a fortune. I'm always seeking out, looking at ways I can always improve what I'm doing, what I'm learning, and how can I apply it as well? Because I don't want to be a broke associate professor. To be broke is not nice. Let's just face it. It's not nice. You know, there are some prayer points that we shouldn't be raising. You know, to be broke is not nice. So I don't want to be broke. So I'm thinking, this is me thinking that what can I do with all this knowledge, with all this book? What can I do? How can I monetize this? How can I use it to make a difference? You know, expand my little streams of income here and there so that I don't rely on what is coming from DMU and all that. And that's just the reality. So we all need to be in that positions where we are at a stage where I believe, and this is my own belief, that you will make much progress if you stop making excuses. You will make a lot of progress. I find that to be true. I find that to be, and it's really helped me. People say, oh, you can't get a job in the UK. That's an excuse. That's nonsense. Oh, you can't get a sponsorship. That's absolutely, it's a crap. Oh, you can become this. I think concentrate on what you can do and just just leave the rest. Take it from there. It is possible. And for me, I think it's really important to work on our becoming, because you're becoming something bigger. You're becoming, it may just be that you have, God has positioned you to be in this city, in this hall, in this town at this time for different reasons. I remember when I came to Leicester, I've had an interview, this was before I was completing my PhD, had an interview at the University of Portsmouth. I really love Portsmouth. I want to say in Portsmouth. And I didn't get the job. I was like, what nonsense? I was like, but these guys are missing out, because the work, I know what the work is about, and I got an interview at University of Leicester the following month. I didn't get the job. I was like, oh. And the next thing was, the following month, I got an interview at DMU. I was like, there must be something in this Leicester. What is it about this Leicester? So I came to Leicester, and it was maybe a few weeks ago, I was having a conversation, and because of what I do now, I get maybe a couple of emails every now and then to say, can you apply for, we find your CV interesting, can you apply for this and all that? I was like, I don't really want to leave now. And to put it in context, we've had a couple of people living in our department at the time, like about 40% of our staff left. And then I get being approached to say, oh, come and take this, come and take that, and all that. But it's like, and then we're having a conversation, and somebody said, maybe you, because of what I've done and because of what I'm still doing, and I enjoy what I'm doing. And was like, look at this person, look at that person, look at this person, look at that person, look at this person, look at that person, look at this person, look at that person. I was counting close to maybe 12, 15, people that have been able to get something with us in DMU because of what God has, used one to be able to do. And it was like, maybe you were just here to be able to do this at this time. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that I think it's really important for us to look at ways in which you can be impactful. don't just think about yourself, because your degree, your master's may be tied down to your success in the master's that you do or in the PhDs. If you do well, it may be tied down to somebody else, blessings as well. I think it's really important to recognize and you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others. I think that's one of the things I've really found very, very, very important. I think we need to find a way. I'll just leave it at that, and I'll take your questions. Just concentrate on giving value. I will leave it at that. If you concentrate on giving value, people will find you. I saying, give value. When I joined DMU, I remember I was on a contract, a research contract. I was 50-50, teaching 50, research 50. But the workload that I was given, it was way, way more than somebody that was on a pure teaching contract. So I was teaching everything that they just threw at me, I just take. I'm happy to help. Everything. Can you teach this? Can you do this? I just collect it. And what it does, it just gives you the opportunity to be able to provide so many narratives when you're applying for that promotions. It just surely does. And nobody can argue against it because it's just apparent. So concentrate on giving value. I think even as a student, you have so much more to offer. So it's not just take, and all that. So it's not a one-way traffic. I think it's really important. You're doing a PhD. It's not just about the research. The thesis itself is just one minor aspect. So if you concentrate on giving value, I think you will do well. I'm just going to stop there and just hear your stories, hear your questions. If you have anything maybe that I've said, I hope genuinely that is being something of value, that you take something away from this. But please, if you have any questions, please feel free. I'm sure we're in church, so this is not a class. So feel free to ask. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. And can we clap? Thank you. I think you can still wait. I think I'm not a student, but I've learned so much. And I've taken a lot of notes. We've got to ask so many questions. The secrets of excelling in the UK. We need to change how we do things. We need to manage our times and all that. So this is time for questions. So if you've got questions, I'm going to 1, 2, 3. So let's start from here.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Augusta. So I was going to ask regarding time management. You talked about time management. That is like expedience that we manage our time. So I was going to ask, what's the ratio you would recommend for time management given to studies, to work, and other things? Because, there are some people that have to support themselves through school with monthly stipends and also pay fees. So that's just what I wanted to ask. Because, with masters, not only do you have to read what's given in class, there are also extra materials like journals, articles, and all of that.
Yeah. I can relate to that because I was say from that. Let me just quickly answer. I'll say from there so I can relate to what you're saying. It's not strange to most people that have been to the UK. It's not strange. What works for me is that when I get that first. When I got my coursework, if you have a particular coursework that you need to hand it in after the lectures, most times what you discover is that the essay, if it's an essay, the questions will have been maybe included in the module handbook, right? You know it from the onset. Once you have it, what I tend to do was to spend maybe 2 days to finish it. Just finish it in 2 days or finish it in a day if you can. What I tend to do is, if you write, maybe the essay is 2,000 words, right? Maybe 2,000 words, or you can do 2,000 words, or I can do 2,000 words in a day, surely, because I can do 10,000 words in 2 days. So, but you can finish 2,000 words in 2 days. spend 2 days to finish it, it's not finished, it's a draft. So when I said spend 2 days to finish it, so you finish the first draft, right? If you spend that, you finish the first draft, you have a lot of time, to go over. I tell you that I used to have like 10 drafts before I handed my work. So the secret is really to finish the first draft as quick as I can, take it to the module leader, whoever is leading the module, have a discussion, show them. I used to beg students to bring their work for me to see before they submit it, but I hardly get much. I get maybe max 5. Most lecturers here will look at your work if you want them to look at it before you hand it in. So if you finish it on time, it gives you time to then go, and if you want to work, you can work. That's just the truth. That's the way I see it.
Okay, thank you.
But it doesn't mean that it's a final draft. So yes. That's what works for me. And I find that to be smart way because it's free made time to be able to do other things as well.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
I hope that is useful.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Prof, for those insightful conversation. Yeah, so I have 2 questions. You talked about stress.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to know, like, the demand in academia, you're
Yes.
supervising students, you're
Yeah.
writing grants, you're
Yeah.
reviewing for people, you're publishing papers, and then probably you're going for conferences and all those things.
Yeah.
And you have a family, perhaps you have a newborn baby,
Yeah.
those kind of stuff, yeah. So my question is, how have you been able to manage? Obviously, you've been able to manage it quite very well. I just want to know how you've been able to manage it.
To do
Maybe
that.
just have do this.
Yeah.
That's the first question. And the second question, you said that you don't want to be a broke associate professor.
Yes.
Say you have to monetize yeah. So my question is, how have you been able to monetize like what you do?
Okay.
Like within the academic space.
Okay.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. I think on the first one, I think I sleep a lot, believe it or not, and I don't sleep. So you can take it the way you want to take it. Let me interpret that. So I sleep a lot, I don't sleep. So what does that mean? When I need to do something, I get it done. If I want to write a paper that is 15,000 words, I can do that in a week, non-stop, non-sleep, quick couple of sleep here and there in between, those off in between here and there, get that thing done. After that, you will beg me to wake up. Right, so I sleep. I find time to sleep when I need to sleep. When I have done the things I'm always guided by the fact that I need to work while it is day because the night comes when no man can work. Right, so I spend if I need to do like you obviously alluded to. So I do. I don't know. I'm journal editor, so I'm actually editor for journal, University of Cambridge Journal of Management and Organization. So I do that. I'm senior consulting editor for Emirate. So I do that, and I review a lot of papers as well, and I submit papers, submit grants, go on conferences as well. And then I've got like maybe about 14 PhD students that I supervise, and I've got to read their work as well. And this is not like masters where you're talking of 2,000 words or something. So, and then I've had to do my own things as well. I had to look after children. So I have to do school runs. But what I do is when I have something to do, that is something that I have found really useful. When I have something to do, I just show up and do it. I don't overanalyze it. I don't overcomplicate it. Sometimes, even in writing as well, I think one of the dangers I usually tell even PhDs and masters is don't think that your first draft is going to be perfect when you're doing an assignment and you're thinking you're going to write a perfect assignment. It's never going to happen. Even with the teachers, it's never going to happen. Even with us that publish papers, you don't write first draft and you think, so why spend so much time before? So get it done. Get that first draft done. You have something. You have something out of that you're working with. So that helps me in terms of that. The other one in terms of how, don't be broke. If you can be anything, don't be broke. You can be anything, but don't be broke. So what I tend to do is to look at opportunities. I always try to look at opportunities. And right now, so with the areas of research that I do research around fintech because of my background as well. Because of I started to do research around it. Was like, I've got to find a way to be able to do this in a much more practical way to sit on boards of fintech companies in Nigeria. So I'm developing my own fintech startup as well. The tech aspect is also been we've been working on that to develop a payment platform, a digital payment platform, and banks as well. So I'm working on that. I'm also working on the resources that I have, right? So by the virtues of what we do, we don't buy books, right? So I don't buy books. I can't buy books anymore in the UK. I can just order for it now. You can get a free inspection copy as a lecture. So that's, I'm thinking, okay, with all this knowledge, we teach quite a lot. So how can I monetize it? So write an ebook. So there's ebook, there's money there, right? So it's one industry that obviously there's a lot of things there, right? So teach online, automate the process, do so many other things within the space and one-on-one coachings and consultings and what's it? There's a whole lot that one can do that are thanks to leverage, and that's what I have found useful, not to be broke. So it helps at least create other streams of income as well. I think the goal is really for me, more I was saying, I want to get a stage where my passive income replaces my annual, what I'm earning in a month is more than enough to cover what I'm earning in a year. So that was to do something passively, right? So, but it is possible. We can have conversations around that.
Thank you very much. That's coded. So the next one.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you.
I think I have questions, and I actually wanted to address them, most especially for those students who are just coming.
Okay.
By the grace of God, I'm one of the graduate students, MSc graduate student from DMU, and I aspire to become a PhD student maybe by January, as the case may be. And I have an issue, because I came very late to the UK regarding starting my academic calendar early.
Yeah.
So I did an assignment. I tried to use Nigerian knowledge, but I got to a point that I said, no, I need to consult before I submit the assignment. So I sent a mail to the lecturer who's in charge. Please kindly review, criticize, and recommend, if possible, send or invite me for a meeting so that we can discuss this assignment before I submit. And to date, no reply. That was last year till now. And also, I was curious, and I began to pray over it, because I don't know the market scheme, I don't know who is marketing it, I don't know, I was so curious about it. Well, to the glory of God, I passed it very well.
Okay.
And furthermore, I also sent a mail again to one of the module leaders, which I will not mention him, for an assignment he gave us, because I was told he's a very critical person when it comes to marking.
Yeah.
And I have to be very careful so that meet our standard by him, provided by him. So I sent a mail to him. Please kindly attach that assignment, review this work, and criticize it if possible, make recommendation, and invite me over. He just replied me in a couple of minutes. Sorry, I can't do that.
Okay.
So I was tired as well. Let me just submit it and let the message of God showed on it.
Okay.
I submitted. I passed it, but I wasn't satisfied with the mark I got from him.
Okay.
Also, on my dissertation, I was supposed to go for BRP, which is a business research proposal, which I was thinking to follow a new line of writing. But I discovered that the journey is not going to be very easy because of the area I was restricted to. Each time I ask those involved, they would tell me, it's their personal data, they can leave it out, they can give it out, they can give it out. So I was kind of depressed about it. So I sent me to the module leader again, please kindly change this BROP to dissertation, where I'm used to.
Yeah.
And after a couple of time, a lot of battle, sending me to student advice, follow up to many people, and they advised him to reply to the mail, and eventually I was changed from that BRP to dissertation. And eventually I was assigned to a supervisor. And I wrote a draft I sent to him, how the dissertation will follow, the proposal. He saw it. After a couple of days, he didn't reply. So I sent him a mail again, please kindly reply on this attachment so that I know what to do, because time is not friendly. So he didn't reply as well. So I called him on phone. I saw his profile. I called him on phone. Then he replied eventually. I started it. I submitted chapter 1 to 3. I sent to behold. I was taking, he's going to read it on the profile some, kind of criticize some area that are not straight or not chronological in nation to what I'm writing about. But unfortunately, after like 2 weeks, I sent him a reminder, please, I'm still waiting. He replied me, oh, tomorrow by 4 p.m. we're going to do it, so no problem. By 4 p.m. he was asking me, what is your research all about? I said, sir, I suppose you have read it and note some errors and criticize it and make some recommendations so that I can able to correct it. He said, no, I'm very busy. I have a lot of students. I'm a kind of supervising here and there.
I get your gist. What's the main?
Finally,
yeah,
I narrowed down to using a primary research method so that I can use some data and use econometrics to run my analysis stuff. And it got to a point, he was not asking me, how do I do this calculation? There are some I use statistics to compute those data I collected from responded, I get from responded. And, you know, like Likert scale. Likert scale, where you get to determine the number of response you get from the responded. The lecturer was asking me, what is this? Is it error? Likert? I said, this is not error, this is Likert scale. So I was now furious and confused. Am I sure I'm on the right track? Am I sure I'm assigned to the right person? So when he got to the calculation, he wasn't, in fact, he wasn't, I don't know whether he's good at calculation. So I was on the bus one day traveling to Scotland. He called me, please, can you explain stuff? I said, sir, this is dissertation, and I was expecting you before I submitted it to kind of go through, tell me the error, and before I submit. I wish you told me, go and submit, and I submitted. So why are you calling me this time to ask me about, I said, okay, no problem, I'm going to schedule a meeting with you so that I can analyze this calculation for you. So I started analyzing the calculation from chapter 3 down to model summary, down to everything. So it was where I really don't understand this calculation here. But eventually, I got some mark yesterday, though it's good, but I wasn't expecting that mark from him. So I was so confused. Do I pursue it further? Should I send a mail to review again? So I don't know.
The core issue is that you're not satisfied with the grade, with the mark.
I think that the challenge is that there are some lecturers that are not responsive.
To email,
There are some that you might approach them, and they will not respond to you on time. Those are the things I will pick. And so
I'm not sure about that.
So I think the challenge here is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is how do you manage lecturers
that are not responsive to emails?
Responsive, or when they respond, they don't respond with the kind of response that you are looking for.
Yeah.
So how do you manage
I think,
that?
to be honest, I think that's an appalling experience, to be honest. Because obviously I'm laughing at a point because I know sometimes as well when I look at my emails, I have like 270 unread message, and you've got to do other things as well. So the job can be quite demanding sometimes, but I try as much as possible to get back to people that get in contact with me. But that being said, I'm not a saint in terms of responding quickly to email either. And I usually tell anybody that sends it, please, can you possibly maybe send a reminder or something like that. I know if you're referring to maybe DME, for example, I know we've got like policies, but some people don't respond. But how do you manage that? I think one thing that I do, because obviously I study here, and what you're describing is not peculiar to yourself. I'm sure many people can relate as well. There are other lecturers that may be on that same module that you're taking. If it's a particular module, for example, that you can speak to, that you can actually physically go to the offices, and that you can speak to. So I think it's really important that you do that as a much more proactive way as opposed to waiting for an email. So you can go to the persons. Most lecturers have office hours where you can see them, so you can physically go there. Time and time again, my office is open. People walk by. They're looking for something else. I've had Nigerian student who was doing a dissertation, who were not getting response from the supervisors, walk into my office, was like, oh, I'm looking for this person. I was like, what's the issue? So I was like, oh, this person, that. And then we go through the research. I'm not supervising him, give advice and all that. In terms of what you're describing, maybe relating to lecturers have the different specialties. So I'm not a quant person, for example. I do qualitative research. I do a bit of quantitative, but not purely. So I can understand. But you can, in terms of whether you can appeal the grade, I think you cannot question academic judgment. So that's just that.
So,
yes, why not? Yeah, it may genuinely be that it's not available at that time. You can ask when it's available, or yeah, it may be. For example, there may be time where you come into my office. Like if I look into my diary, for example, I'm like back to back meetings, and all that. So it may be genuinely the person is not available, but you can ask that what time is convenient for me to come back, or you can ask. I think you just ask what you want. I think that's one of the things I usually tell. And if that person, maybe his dissertation is it a dissertation related? If it's module related, is it the only person on the module? If he's the only person on the module, then I think you just find a way to say, what is the best time? When is the best time to come back or something? But maybe you're not asking the right questions, though. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And another thing, let me just stop you. Another thing you can do as well is that if the module leader, if he's the only person on the module and the person is not responsive to you, we have head of department, we have head of subject group, we have your program leader.
Lead.
Yeah, speak to them. Yeah, boy, I'm giving you now for free. So speak to them. So if the person is not responsive, you've looked at, speak to them. Yeah, that you need help. Yeah.
Maybe I should just add that for every program, you have a program handbook. And in this program handbook, you have the names and the phone numbers and the emails of your head of department, people that are in charge of student experience,
that you can speak to.
People that are in charge of student gateway, and you have all these things there. So if your module leader is not responding, you could escalate to your program leader, you could escalate to the subject group lead, you could escalate to the head of department, but just do it stepwisely. So if you are not getting a response, you take it further to the
program lead.
If they are not responding, you take it further to the head of department. Yeah. By the time you escalate like 3 times and you're copying each one of them, they'll respond.
And don't take it like you're reporting them.
Yeah.
Right. So this is not Nigeria. So nobody's going to victimize you I don't mark you and give you 70 because you are Nigerian, or because nobody will victimize you for trying to get help. Right. So you're not, I think you should I think that is really important to say that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're running, time is running very fast, but then we still have a lot of questions, but we're going to take about 2 questions at the same time just to make it fast.
Yeah, we can take 3, I can address them.
3.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is the first. Thank you so much
for your
presentation. Just a quick question. I believe you've published a lot of papers. like what actually makes a very good, publication? Like, is it to be published in the top journal? Is
Yeah.
it the novelty, or the good story, or the relevance?
If I will sum it, I will say, I will answer it with one word. Is it interesting? That's the way. What makes a good paper? It has to be interesting. Because when we're looking as a journal editors, when papers are submitted to us, we're looking at, is it interesting? The first thing, is it an interesting piece of work? So I think for me, when you're looking at, and you can look at how you frame your paper, how you frame it. So does it have a very clear line of a thesis in there? Right from the onset, you frame it in a way that anybody looking at it knows what this paper is. It's not like I'm reading a paper from, like somebody saying, oh, they don't read my work. No, I actually read your work. You can send me 10,000 words now. I can read it in 5 minutes. It doesn't mean I didn't read your work. I've read it and I know what is like. It's the same thing with journals when you submit it to us as well. We know. If it's like if you're doing a PhD, if you send you a piece of your thesis to us to look at, we can easily say, oh, this is not a PhD work. So what I would say to you is that what makes good paper is the way. Look, okay, let me just tell you, like, a lot of body of work has been done in this area, right? Looking at these issues and that issues. But what we've not yet maybe known, or what seems to be coming out from this paper, is this line of thought. But this has not been really subjected to very rigorous maybe debate or research and all that, and therefore I'm seeking to expand this line of thought to do this, to do that. But we can have conversations as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Yep.
The first one is concerning assessment, where you say you can use 2 days, then
Yes.
submit to your lecturer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are some models that you don't just do that. It's not acceptable. Like my last semester, it was just one of the modules you could do that, then submit to your lecturer.
Yes.
She will review, then get back to you.
I'm
The
out.
remaining 3,
Yeah.
you couldn't do that.
Let me give you a how to solve that. So you don't necessarily, when you finish the draft, you don't necessarily, because some lecturers obviously, because if you are like, maybe you have like 600 students, how possibly can you read the work of, and you've got to do other things as well. So some obviously will say, no, they are not going to have a look, but you can take it to other lecturers.
So what if you don't know other lecturers that you're free with?
You
Can
should
I bring
know.
it to you? No, because other lecturers,
Are you in
they might
DMU?
know. Yeah, I'm in DMU.
Well,
Other
are
lecturers
you
might,
which faculty?
International Business and
You're in-
Marketing.
So most of the lecturers in the International Business and Marketing are on the 4th floor. So
Okay.
come to the 4th floor. I'm on the 4th floor in here at Team Building.
Okay, so I'll look out for you. Then my second
I'm not.
my second question is about projects. I have a lot of people from September batch complain about the project.
Yeah.
And they said when they choose a project that have primary sources, they had a lot of issues which their module leader and their supervisor couldn't help them with.
It depends on the supervisor.
Yeah, so they were advising me to choose a secondary data.
Yeah.
But some people are of the opinion that secondary data is not even good, that the primary data is good. So I'm
Yeah.
asking you,
Yeah.
as a lecturer, what do you think is best when looking out for a topic for your project or dissertation? That is my question.
In terms of the data, the type of data that you use.
What kind of topic do you choose so that I don't run into issues of not having your primary data?
Well, choose something that you can finish.
Yeah, but if you choose a company where you don't have access,
That's what I'm saying.
interview, yeah.
Select something that you know can be done within the time frame. So be smart about it.
okay.
Yeah. You don't have to reinvent the wheels. Select something that can give you 70.
No, more than 70 to be on a safe
Yeah.
side.
Whether more, 7 is A.
Yeah.
So select something that you can finish. So, yeah, I always tell my PhD student, I say, a good PhD is a finished PhD.
Thank you very much, sir. And but then let me just re-emphasize that the questions around how to write a paper and questions around thesis, they are things that we may not, it's quite
We can't
broad.
cover, yeah.
So it's not
It's a
something
lot.
that we can really cover here, but I know that we have another session where we call fireside chats, where we're going to deal with how to go about your project. And writing papers, really, most of the time, they are offshoots of projects and other research generally. So we'll be able to deal with that extensively. So please look out for that.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Oh, it's afternoon now.
Sorry. My question is about finances.
Okay.
Because when you were speaking, you said when you have problem with your finance, you should not allow you to get to the point where they will be sending you threat and all that, that we should call out for help. My question here is, how do we go about that? Who do we go for help?
Well, if you are DMU, just give me one sec. We've got, recently have a Nigerian student needing help. Let me see. We have welfare department at DMU. The student advice centers can let you know. I'm trying to see if I'm able to pull out so that I give you the right information. But
I think I'm going to get the information from him, and I'll make it available, including the slides. And I think one other thing to add to that is, don't wait until they even send you here.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make. Don't wait until you get to that stage.
So engage them, have a dialogue, have a conversation. You can even put forward a plan to say you are having issues, delaying payment for whatever reason, and this is what you are proposing. So they know you're doing something. And when they send you email, also don't ignore those emails. Most of the time, those emails are auto-generated. So somebody might not even be there, but it's recorded that you've been sent those emails, and they're actually setting you up for a day where they're going to cut you off, because those trails of the email will become more like a law,
an evidence,
an evidence against you. So please, those are the things that you need to look forward to. Okay?
I think him.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My school is Coventry and International Business Management.
Okay.
And I came like the second week and having issues, track and try to study check everything. By like this week, everything was sorted out. But we have like modules that have, by the end of this module, submit coursework 1, coursework 2, and those things are just giving me stress. Like,
ask for extension.
How will I do?
If you can.
And, okay.
Because you have a right to ask for extension because of maybe certain things. So there is that opportunity to do that.
Okay, so, but I maybe, if I don't ask for extension, I don't have advice from you, like you are talking about drafts.
You have to work at the speed of light.
To
be honest, it's something that I do because it's going to ease you a lot of stress as well. If you're able to do, don't think that you want to do it perfect. I think it can be a mental block.
Yes, that one asks about the draft. Like, you should make it simple. Like, you should avoid plagiarisms and the rest. How do you make it simple to read a lot, some work, and don't make it
so? I think I would say write the way you think. So that's the UK style. So you write the way you think, and then you support it with evidence from the literatures. So as opposed to the Nigerian where you people just copy what is there and just try to put in the citations. Yeah. So you have to paraphrase what you understood from what you've read, and then you use the literature to support it. So I think that's one thing that you can do. I think I've got any questions on similarities, resubmissions, assignment. I think similarities. Some bodies, I don't know. It doesn't apply to all. But some do have like opportunity where you can submit and check on Turnitin. So it's not all. I know my own modules, I don't give students opportunity to check their work, to check the similarities this in report before they submit it. So, but other modules do. What? The question is why? I don't. You want my honest answer? Okay. I think my honest answer is for lazy people. Because you need to think like, right the way, what is in your head, that's what we want to see. We want to hear your voice in the writing. So we're thinking, so because immediately you start to then go and change, you start to look at synonyms and change. No, it's not going to happen.
Praise God. Amen. Can we just give a round of applause to Dr. Olwasoye? Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this session, shout hallelujah. Amen. There are so many things to talk about, and I promise you, we're going to have fireside chat. There are techniques to how you go about your coursework, honestly. There are things that you could do to make it easier. There are things that you could do to make that writing, easier for you to write 2,000 words in 1 day or 2 days. There are things, guides that you can do, but we can't simply cover everything here.
If you want to know how, I think it's simply develop a system. And by a system, once you get the coursework, right, the first thing is there are keywords that are there in the assignment questions. Right, so maybe the question is asking to explain X, Y, or critically discourse this. Underline those key words from there. Go to Science Direct. ScienceDirect.com is there. Put in those keywords in ScienceDirect.com. DMU has access to it. You can log in with. If you are logging in, if you are within your university, it gives you opportunity to be able to download those papers for free. But if you're accessing it from home, you need to log in through your institution. So you click on login, and then you select, search for the name of your university. It will take you to the university login page where you put in your student names and student login details, and then you're able to login and able to access journals from there. So download some couple of papers from there that are relevant to what you want to do. You can scan through them. You don't need to read papers for 1 hour. It's not smart. You can just look at the key things that you're looking for within the papers, right? So download a lot of papers from there, and then, of course, that already gather. And then when you download these papers, just highlight the section that you need from that particular paper. And so once you've done that, maybe you have maybe 20, 50 papers for every assignment. I tell you, citations and references in academic writing is not a liability, it's an asset. So provide as much citations and sources to back up whatever point that you're trying to make. And once you're able to do that, I think for me, in terms of physically writing the work, is to look at the structure of the paper, of the assignment. If you are looking at an essay, so is obviously you have introduction, you have body, you have conclusion. So the key things that you want to, what am I going to discuss in the introductions? Straight away, your first opening sentence, these essays or this work, we critically look at these, and then you can start to write. So don't wait until, and then the body, so it shouldn't take, to be honest, there's a system that you can develop, but it's outside this section, that it wouldn't take you, to be honest, quite frankly speaking, depending on your typing speed, but it shouldn't take you a day to write 2,000 words.
Hallelujah.
That's my opinion.
Amen. There are some coursework that are not even about writing. So again, we'll look at that at some point. So some does not even require, some is presentation, some is group work and all that. So we'll look at it in detail. I know that we've been able to whet your appetite in this regard. Thank you so much. Please, let's clap again for Dr. Olwasoye.